like coming home. It's just so wonderful to be here. And I love the fact that I can show in this gallery in Basalt. Basically what I do and have done for 35 years is I carefully examine a lot of different aspects of nature, the colors, the textures. I place myself in beautiful surroundings a lot and meditate and observe nature. I make some drawings and some notes, do a lot of photography, some video, but I'm intensely visual. I take a lot of the visual information in, sort of catalog it, so store it away in my memory banks, and then when I'm in the studio making work, I can call upon that information and bring it up and reconstruct it and orchestrate it. So to a large extent, I'm involved in deconstructing and reconstructing the visual aspects of nature. I used to be a landscape painter, grew up being a landscape painter when I was young, and that was really wonderful. It got me involved in the landscape and observing nature directly. But being able to pull that information out of my memory banks and my psyche and reconstruct it, I'm very free to put it together in whatever way I like to. So, for example, the paintings don't have to be oriented vertical or horizontal. They can go either way because there's no representational depiction there. Yet my intention is to bring the viewer into a world somewhat that they're familiar with. So, for example, white birch trees are very, very significant. I find them one of the most beautiful things in nature. Seashells, the patterns in sand that the water makes. I have a lot of favorite aspects, visual aspects that are in nature. Things that happen in the sky. For example, in New Mexico, the skies are outrageously beautiful. So I have an observation deck on my house, and I go up there almost every day around sunset and just watch the activity in the sky and just sit there and enjoy it with a glass of wine or something for an hour. Go for lots of walks in New Mexico too, and just encounter things along the way that I find useful when I'm in the studio making work. The media is acrylic on wooden panels. I did work in oil for a long, long time, and then so when I was working with oil paints, I would use a sander. I was still involved in layers, building up layers. My process is all about layers. And I would build up layers with oil and then take sanding machines and sand back down. So I build up textures and colors and sand back down. So the application and the removal have always been an important part. Then I sort of graduated into acrylics, where I had tools made and I could pull the paint across the surface and create textures, and I do sort of skim the paint across the surface. The paintings are lying flat on the table. I would look at nature. Not only was I fascinated with the way things looked, but I always thought about how things got to look the way they did. What processes were at work that made things appear the way they did. And so you start to think about erosion or things that happen over the course of time, because that's very important. All the elements that were acting on the material and the matter to make it look the way it did. So I developed the process. It was almost as if the process that I developed, in a sense, what I wanted to do was I wanted to personify. I wanted to be nature personified. That's a grand aspiration. But I wanted to observe the processes in nature that create things. So erosion is one of the major aspects of nature. Okay, this is good. I'm glad this is coming on. This is wet right now, so it's appearing white, and you see the way it looks in the final painting. Here it is right after it's been applied, and I basically press the paint it dries clear, and it's the consistency of yogurt, and I press it between, and you may have even seen me. I press it between a flexible sheet of plexiglass and then pull it up. And I can pull it up in different ways to make the dendritic growth pattern. It can shoot out this way or this way. I can do this, or all kinds of different things with that pattern. I can really decide which way, because it's a very interesting pattern because it represents so many things in nature, yet it's very geometric. It's the Fibonacci series. If you measure the distance from there to there, and 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 all the way up, it makes sense. There's a pattern, the same kind of thing going on here with these, and it's throughout nature, whether it's a tree or a leaf, the veins in the leaf, or coral under the water. Everything in nature grows with that Fibonacci series, a spiral. So it's a fascinating pattern, and to me it contrasts beautifully with geometric grid-like structures. So you'll see that I'm doing that all the time. I'm always juxtaposing that dendritic growth pattern with a grid-like structure. They're kind of opposite. So I'm always bringing together disparate elements or opposite elements, merging disparate elements and trying to orchestrate them and bring harmony and balance into that area. Here I'm scraping I do a lot of scraping, so I'm pulling paint across the surface. I'm creating textures and then pulling this. In this case, I'm pulling red across blue. You can see this painting right here.
So do you ever, make a mistake? And go, ooh, I didn't think that.
I constantly make mistakes. Some of them are happy mistakes. There's no such thing as perfection. That's part of. I start out with that as a basic, firm belief. There's no such thing as perfection. I'm not after perfection. I don't even believe it exists. It gets us in a lot of trouble. I do, however, believe in excellence, and so I'm always mindful of trying to up the bar and make better and better work. But mistakes, they happen all the time, and they become integrated into the paintings. Sometimes the most interesting part of the painting is the mistake. But the mistake has to be an integral part of the painting so that it makes sense. In fact, every single aspect, everything that you see in the painting has to be fully integrated. The degree to which I fail or succeed is how well the aspects in the painting are integrated. If there's something sticking out that's not at all integrated and doesn't seem to be a part of the painting, that's probably not a very good painting. To a great extent, I feel like I'm the observer when I'm making these paintings, and I'm not a control freak. I'm just sort of controlling it enough, but I'm interested in incidental things happening that are out of my control that I can only take some degree of authorship for. And in that sense, the painting process becomes metaphysical for me. It's like I'm interacting with nature. There's a surprise and a discovery. And so I don't have plans. I try not to have too many plans because I want the painting to evolve in a natural way without much of a plan so that I can make discoveries. And discovery is, I almost live for discovery. I love it. I'll get into a blue thing and I'll see that blue paint. I'll be doing blue paintings for 3 weeks, totally just over the moon into the blue. And then I don't know what, but I'll shift gears and I'll go into the black and white thing. I have 6 or 7 different color modes, and I keep adding to it. There's the red, black, and tan. That goes back to my days in Italy in early 90s, the red, black, and tan. And I came back from Italy, everything was red, black, and tan for years. I don't know, it just got into my skin, my molecules. The green is really recent. I only started working with green like 2 years ago. And for 30 years I'd avoided green. I was a landscape painter when I was young. That's the only color I avoided. Finally I said, maybe I'm really making a mistake avoiding green. And I started to investigate green, and then all of a sudden that whole world opened up for me, and oh my God, I can't believe I've avoided green all these years. It's just the most amazing thing. So I go in and out of these color schemes, and that marks a period of time for me. Yeah. It's really fun. It's to be given the life to paint. That's been really. I'm very grateful. Thanks. Oh, thanks.
I never got some more tape on that.